Hey, everybody, welcome to So Many Sequels, your book club for movies. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
And we're in the middle of Rob Reiner month here on the show. We are fresh into 2026, season 9. Well, it's season 9 in general. It's not the 9th season of 2026. That would be a horror show.
Dang, we'd be booking it.
Wouldn't it be, though?
That's Survivor level cranking out episodes.
Yeah.
It's season 9 of 2017.
We're talking about Rob Reiner movies this month. He, as we know, tragically died last year, and so we've been revisiting some of his greatest movies. Some of his movies we've already talked about include When Harry Met Sally, An American President, and Misery. In the last week, we talked about The Princess Bride, probably, maybe his most iconic one, potentially. With a man who has many iconic films.
Truthfully, we're going to talk. I mean, again, the three that we've already listed, the ones that we've got on the list, the ones that we are not talking about. I mean, I didn't say it last week, but I'm going to make a prediction this week. I don't think that any of these movies that any of us are going to watch are going to be less than 4 stars. From any.
That's a good prediction. I would have to say. This week we're talking about A Few Good Men, which is really just a fantastic 1-2 punch of Rob Reiner directing an Aaron Sorkin script. Whoo, boy, with a great cast.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson, Demi Moore, Kevin Bacon,
Kevin Pollak.
Kevin Pollak. Fantastic cast of a movie. We're gonna be talking about that today, book club style. It's gonna be fun. Okay, here we go. Yes, let's read what Letterboxd says about this movie. In the heart of the nation's capital, in a courthouse of the U.S. government, one man will stop at nothing to keep his honor, and one will stop at nothing to find the truth. When cocky military lawyer Lieutenant Daniel Caffey and his co-counsel, Lieutenant Commander Joanne Galloway, are assigned to a murder case, they uncover a hazing ritual that could implicate high-ranking officials, such as shady Colonel Nathan Jessup. David, what was going on when this movie came out in 1992?
Well, it was 1992, a really underrated year for film. But this film would open in December, towards the very end of the year, December 11th, 1992, to $15 million. It was the number one movie of the weekend with 15.5 mil. It was the film, I believe, yes, that knocked Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, out of the number one spot for the first time, which was in its fourth weekend, still bringing in 8.3 million. At number 3, you had The Bodyguard, Whitney Houston. And then you had Disney's Aladdin at number 4 with 7.4 million in its fifth weekend. And then The Distinguished Gentleman was the number 5 movie of the week with 5.4. Also, shout out to number 6, also debuting this weekend, The Muppet Christmas Carol. Also just worth mentioning at number 6 with $5 million.
Debuting at number 4? Come on now.
No, debuting at number 6.
Well, that's worse. Yeah. What? Come on.
Unfortunate. But hey, both of the we're talking, honestly, what a lineup. Bunch of great films there. Yeah. For a weekend. A Few Good Men would have a 4-week run in the number 1 spot. It would dip to number 2 for a weekend and then be number 1 again for 2 more weeks. It was a very dominant open for the film. It would go on to make $141.3 million in the United States, $100 million overseas in 1992 for a worldwide total of $243.2 million. All that on a slightly unknown budget total that has been reported to be somewhere between $33 and $40 million. Who knows? When you make that much more, it doesn't really matter, I guess.
No.
It would end up being, let me pull this up here. It would end up being the number 5 movie of 1992. Disney's Aladdin was at number 1. These are domestic numbers, but the worldwide numbers are the same. Aladdin was number 1. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, as number 2, Batman Returns at number 3, and Lethal Weapon 3 at number 4, and the aforementioned A Few Good Men at number 5. This is our 7th time doing a film from 1992. If you're interested, podcast listeners, in listening to other 92 films we've done, we have done A Muppet Christmas Carol, Batman Returns, and Home Alone 2. We've also done Encino Man, A League of Their Own, and White Men Can't Jump. So check out all those great movies. Like I said, 92, underrated year for film, and I can't wait to get into this one.
Yeah, it's a good one. Is this a first watch for the whole squad?
It was for me.
Samesies.
Then it was for the whole squad because it was for me as well, which is great.
Hey.
That's perfect.
Brum, brum,
For
brum. We need a sound effect for that. It
we
doesn't happen
do,
very often where we,
you know,
unless it's a brand new movie, somebody's
You
used.
got to build out that soundboard you got over
gotta
there.
build out that soundboard. Still working on that. New special effects to come in season 9 soon. Okay, well, so uh, I gotta guess then that everybody knows this movie from the "You can't handle the truth" scene. So what do you guys do? You have a memory of that? Is it like what do you know about this movie
I
going
think it's
into
kind of
it?
like Santa Claus, where it has always just been. It has
Yeah,
always just been, you can't handle the truth.
Mhm.
Knew about it beforehand, but like memory of like, the I love the 90s stuff that it
yeah,
seemed like it was
VH1.
like super relevant for those kinds of things. But yeah, just that was the scene.
It's hard to detail what pop culture was like in the 90s versus the 2020s. Because if a film was big, it not only was just big as a movie, it was the influence was everywhere. In everyday conversations, it would be the lines, popular lines would start appearing in sitcoms. You can't handle the truth appeared in so many TV shows and sitcoms and kids cartoons and things like that. It was just so ingrained. I mean,
Mhm.
you can't handle the truth is up there with like, I am your father,
It
or
really is. Yeah.
I'll have what she's having, another Rob Reiner one. But like, it's just one of those things that just became ingrained, and kids knew it without even seeing the movie. Like, it would be, and the '90s also had. I just feel like lots of instances of like TV shows or movies or something like that that would just be specials that would be like best moments of the year, most quotable things of the year. Like I remember seeing the Academy Awards, and there'd be like a rundown of like big movie moments, and that one's always in there. So anyway, that was what I knew it from. I had no idea what the context of "You Can't Handle the Truth" was for
Yeah.
decades.
Other than it was a military thing. Knew it was
Yeah,
a military court. Like
some kind of
that was the
courtroom
only other thing that I
situation.
knew.
Yeah, I agree with with everything you're saying there. I mean, I think I also have a lot of memory of watching those. I mean, I watched a lot of those VH1 shows about remembering the '90s and
Hmm.
all kinds of like pop culture recap shows. So, and then I'm sure that this is probably I don't want to name examples because I can't off the top of my head, but it has to have been parodied a million times by basically probably every big property you can
Every
think of.
sitcom from the 90s has at least one moment where where some character probably uttered, "You can't handle the truth."
Yeah, but
Either, yeah.
I don't think I really knew. I'll be honest. I don't think I really knew how much of a courtroom drama it was.
Yeah.
In like a complimentary way.
I mean,
I
yeah.
liked that aspect of it, but I knew it was military related, but I didn't know I didn't know Tom Cruise was going to be playing a lawyer
Mhm.
representing people. I didn't know any of that. So it was cool to watch a brand new movie to me anyway, despite it being so old now. It was pretty cool. What do you guys feel like your biggest takeaway was in like what is this movie what is this movie trying to tell us? What is it teaching us? What is the message here?
I, f- I felt like this movie, first watch really makes a lot of sense to watch now. We've talked so
It
often
does.
about how things are circular and time is circular, and this just seems to be something that we're kind of going through. Not too long ago, military leaders were called basically to say, listen, we are going to start doing stuff like this in this movie, and you're going to have to deal with it. And I feel like that's what this struggle like really is presenting, is this really moral question. And I don't want to give away the end here at the beginning, but we'll get there. But like the ending of this movie really caught me by surprise, because it doesn't end with a big old happy ending like you expect from something. There's so much what feels like reality brought into this that, I mean, I don't even really understand how to explain it, other than it just feels so real without like the nuance of real life.
Yeah, it does feel very real. And you know, I think Aaron Sorkin has a lot to do with that. And, but also, and this is, I don't know, maybe just my opinions on it, but Aaron Sorkin is so good at writing a, um, idealist's version of what a real situation would be. And like you
Yeah.
said, we're not spoiling already, but it doesn't go exactly what you thought it would, but it's still a pretty idealized take on this when you talk about comparing it to timely matters of today.
Mhm.
Again, without tearing into headlines or anything, but there's also talk right now of what is a lawful order to follow and
Yeah.
things like that. And there's a lot of question in this movie. A big question in the trial is, who gave this order, and was it right to follow it just because it was given, and all this stuff. So I found that really interesting and timely to think about. I don't know.
Yeah, I
It's
think
heavy.
that the movie, at its core, there's a real conversation about, I guess, the complexity of the concept of honor and duty
Yeah.
and
Character.
They talk about
character
code a lot.
and, responsibility and things like that. And and then, on another level, like you said, there's sort of the societal element of it takes a hard look at the military and the burden that we kind of put on our military to kind of feel like they have to almost dehumanize themselves to
Yeah.
be some kind of unstoppable force, and how that breeds a sense of a lack of care for weakness, or a lack of a care for uh being slower or whatever. Like, they like, at the core of this is a colonel who wants to punish someone for not being up to the standard that he and his fellow soldiers feel like they have held themselves to for years. So there's a danger there too. And Sorkin, like you said, I want to get to Reiner in a minute, but Sorkin is this complicated writer because he is obviously very, he's very left wing, but he is the kind of left wing that still, I think, values the institutions that have been created. He wants to poke at
Absolutely.
them, but he wants them to be what they're supposed to be.
Right.
So it becomes kind of complicated because there's some people are like, no, we need to take these institutions down. He's like, no, I think the institutions have value. They've just been worked with, and that can become an interesting conversation for a lot of people as well. I think of his most recent film, The Trial, or not his most recent, but one of his more recent films, The Trial of the Chicago 7, which has a lot of that, has a lot of like, I'm critiquing how these institutions are run, but I also value what these institutions technically are supposed to be, and how that
What
that's
they
kind of
are
a gray area.
what they are supposed to be. Yeah, and I think that's what I meant by, like, that it feels so real, but it
Hmm.
it is like everything is supposed to run kind of like it's supposed to.
Hmm.
The idea of what these things are is what he presents, is these complicated situations, and this is a really complicated situation throughout this whole entire movie, what they're grasping with.
Yes.
And I really appreciate that. And again, you think that there are people that are meant to stand up for this, but you know, so often the winners are the ones who are trying to skirt around the system because they think that the system is meant to hurt them. Whereas again, you have to ask yourselves about the character
Yeah.
that you're being presented with. And to spoil the end, again, these two cadets are on trial for hazing another, or they're not cadets, but they're privates, or in the
Hmm.
Marines, for or hazing another Marine who ended up dying as a result of the hazing. And so they're on this court martial trial, and they go through this whole thing, and it ends with them, as we'll get to, being found not guilty of the murder, however, being found guilty of unbecoming character of a Marine.
Yeah.
And that for me is what took this movie up to another level, because you think that, oh yeah, they did their job, they got them off. Oh my goodness. Oh wait, there's this one more piece that we're not really focusing on. is whether or not this is behavior becoming of a Marine and what we expect of the people who are defending us. Yes, there is a level of we as lay people don't understand what they go through and they have to do some tragic and terrible things, but it doesn't mean you get to act that way to everyone.
And there's a complexity there of you kind of want them to because of like a structure of a movie, you want Tom Cruise to succeed. You kind of want these kids to not be like, yeah, they felt like they were doing what they were told to do. But you have to remember that because think of yeah, we're not going to blame you for this kid's death, but the fact that you follow the orders to get to that point when they were clearly something you should, it is more complex. It's not as black and white. I do want to say this is inspired by a real event, even though the movie doesn't say that explicitly. Sorkin's sister, when she graduated from law school, did this exact thing. She went on a 3-year stint to serve with the Judge Advocate General in the U.S. Navy, and one of her first cases was defending a group of Marines who nearly killed another Marine in a hazing incident. So, it's largely inspired by a real case that happened. In fact, the movie actually gets Sorkin and the studio got sued because the Marines felt like, hey, that's us. They didn't end up winning, but they tried.
Yeah.
So that's why it feels so real. Like it's based on something.
When it's where Sorkin's respect for the institution comes in, is in that ending. Because in his idealized world, I believe, he is saying that, yeah, it wasn't ultimately your fault, but you still acted wrong.
Yeah.
And if in the perfect world, the system will still punish you for that.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, not everything's the military. And how often do the people involved in hazing rituals from any of these types of groups get actually punished? Not often.
Yeah.
I don't think. A lot of times they find ways out of it, because that's the sad truth. But Sorkin tells a story where they get to still face those consequences. Even though it was Jack Nicholson's character who was the one who was like ultimately the biggest piece of shit in the in the operation. It's like, doesn't mean the underlings get away with it. There's all kinds of examples in history where I was just following orders is not an excuse.
No.
Well, in the reality, so I'm reading into the case of the 10, as they were known, who did this. 5 of them took plea deals, and ended up to avoid getting court-martialed. 3 of them went ahead and went to trial, and they were found. They argued that they were following the orders of a superior officer. Ultimately, they were found. They ended up getting honorably discharged. Like they ended up being able to continue their Marine career, and they did not receive the kind of punishment that
See, that's
these 2 will get.
That's reality. Of course, they got to just continue to serve. And it's like, is that the kind of person you want to serve with? I don't know.
Yeah, they were found. Okay, yeah, here it is. They were found guilty on lesser offenses and were able to continue their careers as Marines and were honorably discharged years later. So,
very interesting story. I mean,
now
we got to talk about. I wanted to say again. To me, we talked about it a little bit in Princess Bride, and again to me in A Few Good Men. If Rob Reiner has any signature touch, it is his cast. This movie is stacked. We cannot go on without talking about so many of them. I mean, this is an era of Tom Cruise where he is not superstar, biggest movie star on the Planet Freak Show,
action man,
everywhere action man Tom Cruise. And guys, I thought he acted his ass off in this movie. Really, everybody
for
did.
sure.
Demi Moore, fantastic. Jack Nicholson, he's so easy to despise. Oh, I love how good he is at that.
I mean,
and it's again, they all fill their roles so fully just like those Princess Bride characters, I feel like, that they have so much depth to them.
Yeah, and I would say, we talked in Princess Bride about that being such a stacked cast of character actors who are so good at molding into different kinds of characters. And I would say that this is not quite that. These actors have range, but these are actors with range. And to me,
Capital
that's a
A
little bit
actors.
different. You look at Kevin Pollak, now that man is a character actor. And he is an A-plus character actor, but the others are actors with range. And again, while I'm talking about these two movies, there are different kinds of directors, and there are some who are technical. And like you look at Christopher Nolan and what he's able to bring to the technical side. And I think that Rob Reiner's gift is to be able to bring the best, not only out of a stacked cast, but the best out of that stacked cast. Because the two things that I have taken away from these movies so far is that I believe it. They just feel real. I'm sitting there watching it as it's just, I'm on the edge of my seat, so fascinated because they're acting it like it's, again, real life. And it's just a credit to him to be able to suck me into this world and just be captivated until the very end. It's just amazing what he's been able to do with these two such different styles of movies too.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
I mean, you completely did. Like, there was a time when a director probably did like one type of movie. Like if you were really good at rom-coms, you did rom-coms. If you were really good at westerns, you did westerns. But I mean, very few people can kind of put up the same kind of resume as a Rob Reiner, where he has, an incredible faux documentary with Spinal Tap. He has probably one of the best coming of age films with Stand By Me, and it's like a darker coming of age film. A great fairy tale in Princess Bride, a great rom com with Harry Met Sally, and then he has a great courtroom drama with A Few Good Men. Like, what a diverse filmography, and like we talked about with not having a signature sort of style, he just brings Sorkin, like it's so natural. This is exactly how you bring this source material to the screen, and fills it with great actors, and puts it together, puts it together in a way that it just works. And like everywhere you go, again, we talked about this with Princess Bride, but everywhere you go feels like a real set, a real scene, a real location. Nothing feels phony. Although I don't think obviously they didn't really go to Guantanamo Bay, or and actually the Department of Defense wouldn't let them shoot on them in a real Marine courtroom or anything like that, or Navy courtroom. But an incredible job of just putting it all together. Like he's a storytelling director that doesn't let his own ego get in the way of things.
No, he's here to tell the story.
Fantastic.
He brings the story to life, which is, again, that's the art of what movies should be,
And this is a situation too where this is a play. This is a Sorkin play that was then brought to the screen. So you can make an argument for best, one of the best adaptations from stage to screen. And in fact, William Goldman, the writer of The Princess Bride, even did some rewrites on the movie. But Sorkin liked so much he put him back. He put him into the stage play. So,
well, damn.
He's a great collaborator. I think is one of Rob Reiner's great strengths too. Is just putting all the right people together.
Yeah, it does seem like it. I mean, there's so many, the Venn diagram of people he works with and his movies there's a lot of crossovers.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about Reiner and Sorkin. Do you feel like this is more of a Reiner movie or more of a Sorkin movie, or is that even into your mind?
I think I think going back to what we mentioned earlier, that, we'll get a sense of, like, as we watch these next movies, what if there is a style for Reiner. But I truly think that he just is here to bring a story to life. And I think that is his style, is to just authentically tell this story and make actors and actresses and all of them bring these characters to life. This definitely, once I realized it was a Sorkin, 100%, like, oh my God, this feels like Aaron Sorkin. I'm not a big fan, or I've not watched The West Wing. I know you guys are more involved with that, but like, he also has this uncanny ability to write things that, again, just come back to life eventually. Going through The West Wing and rewatching it, how much of that has come to life in a crazy kind of a way in real life.
Not nearly enough of it.
Well, fair. because he's got that idealist.
Fine, I'll go rewatch The West Wing.
But I think that this definitely felt very Sorkin-y.
Yeah, I think it feels Sorkin, but based on what I've seen of people adapting Sorkin's work, I think might be one of the best adaptation of Sorkin's work. That includes Sorkin himself adapting putting his own films. You know what I mean? Like Reiner just knows how to knows how to make this dialogue work, knows how to make this work so well. So,
Sweet. All right, well, let's wrap up here this discussion. Oh, you got something else?
I just want to shout out because we
Shout
mentioned him
out.
before we were recording, but Noah Wiley, Cuba Gooding
We gotta
Jr.
talk about Noah.
Yeah.
Like some of the like the little cast members in this, like small roles, but like it's so fun to just like see them pop up like before they were really big.
Yeah.
Yep,
Like that's so funny to me.
I agree.
There's even there was somebody else I noticed that stood out to me, and it was the guy playing Martinson, like the guy who just like disappears and they're like, you're never gonna find him. Markinson. JT Walsh, he's in a ton of great movies as well. He was in there was something specific I remember. Oh, he's in Pleasantville. That was the one I specifically remember him from. He's like the dad in Pleasantville or something like that. Anyhow,
For me, I had no idea Kevin Bacon was in this.
Kevin Bacon.
Kiefer Sutherland was a fun surprise.
Yeah.
Man, he was looking like a little hateable Jack, whatever his name was.
Yeah, he was like everybody in this movie looked so young. Because they were.
They really did. And they were, I mean, they genuinely were.
Take us back to the 90s.
Right. All right. Final ratings and reviews from each of us on A Few Good Men. Anyone itching to start?
This was my first time watching it.
Yeah.
I really
everybody's first
liked. I was really brought into it. I knew the big climax moment, and it earned its way up to that. Like I thought to myself, like we can't it's like hanging over its head. This you can't handle the truth. But like by the time it got to that, I was like, yeah, it was it. Yeah, it was like they earned this moment that is iconic. And I had never actually seen the moments after where he's being arrested and he's like, I'll puke down your skull or whatever, like that or whatever. Like that was intense. So I think I'm gonna give this like 4.5 stars. Mhm. Yeah, let's start there.
That's a good point, David. We talked again earlier in this about the meme of it all and the you can't handle the truth. But at no point in time was I sitting there waiting for that moment. I was just
And it's at the
wrapped up.
very end, really.
Yeah, it's true. But I was still sitting there like, what is going on?
Yeah, I didn't care about it.
It wasn't a thing that I was just so amazed by what was going on. And again, the ending in and of itself, twisting it on his head, where you expect them to be, off scot-free and everything, but then you're hit with the reality of this is still not how we are expected to behave. And that's what it comes back down to. And so, David, I agree. I'm going to give it 4.5 stars.
I'm gonna keep the love fest going with the 4.5 star thing. I think that's the exact right spot for me. If I had to give a critique, it's a really easy critique, which is that it's kind of long. I could shave a little bit, but that's where the 0.5 comes from. So 4.5 stars for me.
I kind of felt like there's this moment that feels like, like if there is a critique, they build up like these two secret witnesses that are coming in, and obviously it's in the movie, it's a fake out, and so when he reveals that to Kevin Bacon, it's a fake out, but it faked me out because I was like, oh well, I don't know, I don't like that. I don't like that you just BS'd me there because I was like all excited for what was about to happen with those guys.
Right.
Anyways, yeah.
All right then.
Letterboxd.
Time to play the Letterboxd game. Garrett is in the lead with 2 points that he scored from our Princess Bride episode.
Right.
Double whammy. He got a double hit.
He got a
direct hit. So we'll be doing.
Use this for the
again.
thumbnail right here. Just
that perfect. Clip that, producer, somebody. But anyway, I got some Letterboxd reviews here pulled up that I'm going to read out while we think about it. First up here, we've got 4 stars. Kevin Bacon can court-martial me anytime. Another 4-star review that says Jack Nicholson looks like he eats babies. 4 stars. I blast Sorkin dialogue over my living room speakers at dinner parties to show my fancy guests that I too enjoy classical music. And then finally, and you started to you referenced this a little bit at the end there, David. 4 stars. Everyone quotes "You can't handle the truth," but a minute later, Jack Nicholson screams, "I'm gonna rip the eyes out of your head and piss into your dead skull," and it's just as good. And I agree. That line was
underappreciated,
terrifying,
Shocking.
also shocking, scary. I believed
If
he
no
was
one
going
ever
to piss
quotes
down
that,
my
that
skull.
was like, oh, he's mad.
So what do we think? What do we think?
One of you two gentlemen.
That's true.
wanna
It
go?
doesn't matter. I guess it doesn't matter.
David, you were in second place, so why don't you start this
there you
one?
go.
I'm going to guess a 4.0.
4.0. I'm going to guess 4.2. I don't know why. It's a stupid guess.
See, and I'm gonna do the other thing. I think I'm gonna go with a 3.9 just because. It's more because of the Letterboxd. I don't know. I feel like they're gonna not quite get it there.
Okay, we got 4.2 from me, 4.0 from David. What did you say? 3. What?
9.
This week we have another direct hit. And this time it's David.
Yes.
This movie is a 4.0
Okay.
on Letterboxd. Very nice.
It's a good
That
spot.
makes sense to me.
Very good spot to be in.
Well, that leaves us after 2 episodes. Garrett and I tied at 2 apiece. Josh just behind at 0. But, I mean, if Josh gets a 2.0 on the next movie.
That's true.
Well,
Maybe
we
I
got
get
a real
a
race
2.0
here.
on our next one here. We've got 2 more Rob Reiner films coming up to finish out the theme here. We're going to be talking about This is Spinal Tap and Stand By Me. So be sure you go watch those.
Let us know what you think about this. Go listen to Princess Bride, all that good stuff.
Please do. SoManySequels.com. You can find all that there, as well as on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get podcasts. Go subscribe there. We also are on Discord. You can find all that again at SoManySequels.com. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.